When I was a teenager, we always did stupid dares. It was always piss in the sink or do this to that person. About 3 months ago, my friend Alex went to the superstore, the Giants, Walgreens, and Targets. Alex loves streaming and streamed us and his 30 or so viewers. He even carried around a bag of film equipment. Anyways, 3 months ago, he went to a Walmart streaming with his pal. I, having nothing better to do, tuned in and watched. They screwed around, ticked off the employees, that kind of thing. After a while, Alex's friend dared him to go into one of the supply areas. Giant food stores always have off-limit areas to stock frozen food from behind the shelves, and being dumb teenagers, Alex's pal decided to tell him to go in and look around a bit. After a bit, they spot an employee walking through the entrance to the supply room with a cart of food to stock. They booked it and ran into a corridor into what should have been another supply room. They calm down and laugh it off and start walking through the halls. After a few minutes, they realize something was wrong. Walmart didn't need vast networks of corridors to get from one room to the other. They started getting freaked out and started retracing their steps. They traveled to the exact same route back and ended up in the room they started in. They snuck through some stacks of boxes to avoid the employee that was walking out of the room and back into the store. They went to the door, opened it, and saw a dingy corridor where there was supposed to be an exit. Alex immediately shouted in shock, and his buddy just said that things were really fucked. At this point, I'm freaking out in my room, wondering if there was some kind of prank or trick on the viewers of the stream, but they were shook. They began shouting at the top of their lungs, asking for help. They ran through corridor after corridor after corridor, but no landmarks were visible. After a while, Alex regained his composure and realized that his friend was gone. He again ran through the halls trying to find him to no avail. After a few hours of Alex swearing and freaking out, I stopped watching and tried to help him. I went to the Walmart he was at and retraced where he went and came upon the same room he went into. I raced in and called his name and quickly realized that it was a single small room with no corridors connecting to any of it. I turned around and exited, and everything was normal. I went back home and started watching Alex for hours on end. Nothing happened. He was just sitting against the wall crying. After 3 hours of waiting, I saw something shift in the background. Not a visible figure, but a slight shift, just enough for my eyes to see it. I tuned out in fear and went to bed. Everyone at school was talking about Alex's disappearance, and kids were being called to the office to be interviewed for information. I wasn't called, but a few of the others that I knew were watching the stream were. I tuned in the next day and saw something I remember vividly. Alex was slumped over, dead. He hadn't been murdered, but he was just slumped against the wall with a glassy look in his eyes. His backpack was gone and his camera was set up cleanly in front of him. There was a trickle of blood coming from the back of his neck and nothing more. All I could see was the shocked expression on his face burned into my memory. After a few weeks went by without me tuning in, I viewed the stream. At this point, the police had found it and were at a loss. Eventually, they stopped trying to find him and the case was closed. My town's small police department gave up. Alex's corpse had disappeared from view. All I could see were the dingy walls and shadows shifting. Eventually, I caught a faint trail of a sentence, seemingly coming from everywhere. Need to find Alex. Get home. Home. Gotta get home. I was mortified. It sounded like Alex's friend. A day later, Alex was declared dead. His family seemed to disappear like him, moving elsewhere. To this day, I still tune into the stream. I don't know how it keeps going. The memory should be full. The battery should be dead. It doesn't make any sense. Sometimes I see the shadows, the snips of conversations long past. I swear I do. The thing that terrified me the most, however, wasn't Alex's death, or the impossibility of it all. The thing that terrifies me the most is a detail I remembered today. Alex never had a tripod, but the camera showing his corpse was raised off the ground and didn't shake a bit. I still don't know who was filming or why, but yesterday the Walmart got torn down to make way for a highway. They found a camera in the rubble, and it had over 4,000 hours of footage. The thing that scares me is this. Only 600 hours of footage was about Alex. There were more who fell into that hellhole, and the stream is still going.